Hello everyone, so good to see you. So, I like to think that I'm pretty open to trying new things, trying new food, watching new shows, playing different genres of games. And so, when all of us here at GVG first saw that trailer for Infinity Nikki at that one state of play, that was also the first time many of us ever saw it. But in reality, this game has been known to be in development since 2022. This is a follow-up to the most recent release, 2019's Shining Nikki, and is described as the coziest open world game. I believe the series started to gain the most traction with its third title, Love Nikki, which is also on mobile. For those who have no idea what the Nikki series even is, first of all, thank you for being here to check this out with me. Second of all, clothing. It is a dress-up game all about collecting the best-looking dresses, hats, skirts, shoes, the whole ensemble, and being the best stylist that you can be. This, of course, continues that goal and expands it greatly with the latest title, Infinity Nikki. Thanks so much to Infold for letting me get an early look at the game so I can really start to understand what this is all about. At this point, open world titles are likely a term that most of us are familiar with by now. You're set off in the vast, lush world of Mirrorland, which, while there is a story to follow, you're also free to run around and explore to your heart's content, within some limitations, mind you. Your main character, of course, is Nikki, accompanied by her best friend and travel companion for this journey, Momo. You quickly meet Enna the Curator, who grants the Heart of Infinity, or rather, kinda forces it upon you. This opening scene was almost alarmingly in stark contrast to the rest of the game that I've seen before or since. We'll have to talk more about this a bit later. But yes, you're tasked to collect all the miracle outfits to prevent disaster, and must use your various powers as a stylist to overcome obstacles and puzzles. Throughout your journey, you'll be doing a lot of what you might expect of an open world game, traversing vast landscapes, foraging for items, talking to people for quests, opening these really ornate treasure chests. There's so much about this game that has this fabulous flair to it without being egregiously in your face about it. There's a gracious balance between presentation that's beautiful to look at while not being overstimulating to your senses. I can feel how important it is to the creators to keep a sort of professional feel that appeals to everyone that wants to give this game a try. The real highlight of this game is naturally the many outfits and styles that you can dress Nikki in. The first time I visited your virtual closet, I was amazed at how many layers and options there were. My male brain was still in Breath of the Wild mode. Okay, shirt and pants and we're ready to take on the world, right? Oh no, we are much more involved here. You got hairstyles and colors, hair clips and bows, dresses, tops, shirts and bottoms, shoes, socks, necklaces, gloves, sleeves, earrings, hats, separate accessories, bags, eye color contacts, eyebrow color, blush, I think, nail colors. The list keeps going on. You can have different skin tones too, though it would have been nice if it was on a slider and not just 4 exact tones only, but it is better than what other games will give us, so what can you do? And look, I'm not a professional clothing connoisseur by any means. All of you ladies and gentlemen who know this much better than me can tell me how awkward my fashion sense is. I'm just working with what I got. Each article of clothing or style has a determined rating attached to them, allocating points to a different category for each. At a certain point, you'll get to enter a styling challenge, which I'm pretty sure is a staple of the series. You need to assemble an outfit that has as many points aimed toward the theme as possible. If your outfit doesn't meet the criteria to be, for example, stylishly cool enough, then you'll fail the challenge. I have no idea if this outfit is even aesthetically cohesive, but I passed my first challenge with flying colors. Nikki says it was perfect, so that's good enough for me. There are cute pieces and outfits, casual, playful, mature, really any kind of fashion that you can think of. This game is probably going to have it for you to dress up in, assuming you have the materials for them. There are some pieces and outfits that are given to you using various methods, but most of the time, somebody will provide you the instructions on how to make them. You have to find or forage materials out in the world to make most things, and if it happens to be part of a larger set, the game will keep track of just how many left you have to make before creating the whole matching outfit. It's one of those games where if you see something you can collect, you might as well pick it up because you never know when you're going to need it. Something I thought was really cool from the very start is the way Nikki's clothing is also contextually integrated to how she interacts with the whole world. She's very self-sufficient and uses the power of whim to style and craft clothing from anywhere. You quickly get access to the Heart of Infinity, which essentially acts as your skill tree. Not everything is accessible from the start, of course, but it's through here that you initially craft your most integral outfits. It's these outfits that give her different abilities and tools to interact with the world of Mirrorland. She will transform into the outfit that suits her needs. You know how by now, people kind of expect a lot of these open world games to have a method to float or glide down? That's a dress that Nikki will instantly don when needed, and then put away soon after landing. Do you need to combat some nefarious ne'er-do-wells or purify an object? That is also a dress. Cleaning an animal for materials which can melt literally anyone's icy cold hearts? Oh my goodness, is that a dog or a loaf of bread? You can catch insects with a bug net. You can go fishing? Oh, we had to have had fishing. This would not have been a cozy game without it. And like, yeah, these dresses, outdoor activity wear, and casual outfits, they're freaking cute, dude. And then there's some like the electrician, which I didn't expect to be in this game because that's not really a profession that comes to mind when I think of stylish outfits, but Nikki makes it work. You don't need to adhere to a specific style for the whole game either. You can swap out what you want when you want. I tend to like a professional look, and this was really the only outfit I could do that with, so I kept Nikki in this for a bit of my playthrough. But if you want a fresher, more outdoorsy look to explore this beautiful world in, you are welcome to save a few outfits to quickly swap to whenever you like. And I do mean that, it really is a gorgeous world. Like seriously, is this gonna be like the cottagecore arc of my life? My PC is relatively new, and this was the first time I was really pushing it with the in-game settings. Environments are lush, the characters look great, and the lighting is quite striking, especially at certain times of day. I think we've gotten really used to seeing a lot of cel shading or something similar with solid colors and stark contrast for a lot of games that have that anime-inspired aesthetic, but Nikki is sort of doing their own thing with something that looks more CGI with softer tones and gradual blends of color. The flourishes and effects are pretty pleasing to see, and little details like how an accessory will sparkle or light hitting the water, it leaves an impression. There were maybe like 1 or 2 times that the area I was in didn't load quite correctly and things looked a little bit problematic. Hello. But I'm gonna assume it was either the pre-launch build that I was playing on or my PC was having a personal moment loading everything all at once. I'm fairly certain that if you're playing the release version of the game, or especially if you happen to be playing on the PS5, that you're not gonna encounter these moments. But what about the story of Infinity Nikki? That was the biggest unknown for me. The intro was kind of a whiplash, but everything after that? Is it really just all clothing and happy times? Much of the opening hours of the game is Nikki entering this world and encountering the people of Florawish after encountering a girl by the name of Dada. She witnesses just how capable you are in purifying these creatures known as S-lings. After a brief introduction, she tells you about a series of mysterious coma incidents that she's been investigating and invites you to join the Silas Guild. You get to explore a little bit more on the way out, unlock your first fast travel points, collect some items, and eventually the big title drop. My first time exploring the town really made me think, wow, this looks so gorgeously somewhat realistic and yet maintains a believable anime style. Taking a step back, at times characters kind of look like dolls, but not in a weird or creepy way. If you consider Nikki to be akin to a dress-up doll, it kind of makes more sense, you know? Being a part of the guild involves completing tasks, helping people with their quests, the occasional battle, which, granted, aren't really that complicated. Fights are fairly straightforward. You take out pretty much all enemies at this point with one hit, and you have to just not get attacked enough times before taking out the S-lings. Even the one boss fight, I guess we'll call it, was more of a platforming challenge, but at the same time, it doesn't really need to be focused on combat because that's not the sole or main focus of the game. It's very much stress-free, and that's fine. There's platforming challenges, there's mini-games, nothing that's like for the hardcore real gamers or anything, mostly because that's just not what it was going for. I think we need to be more open to easygoing games that we can just decompress with. For some, decompressing is playing Dark Souls. For others, it's going to be Infinity Nikki. But anyway, once you're registered with the guild, you'll be given your own pair pal and have a plethora of options, menus, and bits of tutorials in your hands. It's kind of a whole lot to absorb, so I recommend not fretting too much and just taking in a little bit at a time. Because trust me, there is a lot here that's more long-term goals anyway, but it is cool to preview and see what's going to be available to you in the future. And while you're browsing all the options, you'll notice, wow, the UI is very animated and decorated. Every little bit of this interface is bouncing and lifelike on your pair pal. It adds a lot of personality. You can check out your mirror level, which can give you rewards once you complete tasks. You can set up your title, avatar, and other personalization options on your card. You can check your courses where all of your stylist tasks are broken down with rewards that are constantly being available to you. You can also enjoy all the artwork of little chibi Nikki, which is just so freaking cute. I wish I could draw like this. It looks like a little scrapbook and is just a joy to browse through just for the art alone. And if you're observant, you might catch them memeing as well. There was a point where I wanted to change the time of day and suddenly it threw me into a retro minigame. Hello, I'm a pear bird now, where am I? It's totally not even necessary to play, but it's there. We got a photo mode? Oh, the sheer amount of options in these menus is gonna make me be here all night. I'm so overwhelmed by every new thing that you discover, you guys. Just look at this bee! He's so chonky and I love him. Just going through all of this is slowly making me realize why this series has such a following. And it's really fun to see that Infinity Nikki is working really well to bring this to the mainstream. Listen, I've seen the hype for Nikki. I have been energized by the fans' enthusiasm and excitement for this game. The booth for PAX West 2024 was insane. There was a whole Princess Castle in that area. Stations were full every time I passed by. There was a whole whim tour that I went on. I'm basically a certified citizen of Mirrorland at this point. Did you take a photo with Nikki and Momo? I bet you didn't. Now, there's an important thing to note about Infinity Nikki that you'll discover pretty early on, and that's using the power of resonance. Resonance is essentially your gacha system, and before anyone immediately throws a fit of rage, it should be known that these are solely cosmetic. These dresses are not meant to give you an edge over anyone else who is playing the game. It also functions quite differently than what you might expect from your typical gacha. In this game, of the available dresses, you can choose a specific one to aim towards. Once you initiate resonance, which has an animation that goes way harder than it has any right to, you'll get a random article of clothing. So this dress, for example, has 9 separate pieces that go to it, right? All of these are your 5-star pieces of that set. You are guaranteed to acquire one part of the set within 20 rolls or 2 10 pulls. You will not get a repeat 5-star as you continue resonating, and will eventually get all pieces of the set if you decide to commit to that one. Chances seem low that you'll get more than one 5-star article at a time, but I did have it happen once at the very end of collecting all the pieces of the Whisper of Waves. There's no need to complete an entire set. You can stop once you get the dress or hairstyle that you want, for example, but then you wouldn't get the cute animation when you change. My sister took a peek and asked if that was Elsa, and I said, no, that's Water Elsa. It's 1,200 diamonds per 10 pool, or 10 resonite crystals. You are guaranteed at least one 4-star piece for every 10 resonances. I'm sure that if you played other gachas before, this format will be very familiar to you. It just has a really unique pity system is all. And ignore the fact that I have 300,000 diamonds. This is only a test account, okay? They're not real. This is for science. But this does mean that, yeah, there are in-game purchases. At least the game itself tells you to budget wisely, that's considerate. I couldn't access everything because of how this was only a limited version, but yes, being able to basically purchase roles will be available. It's not like other games where you're earning a character to make progression much easier, so I can kind of forgive it for being just purely cosmetic. But speaking of other games, and I don't really like to bring up other titles in a discussion like this, especially when Infold was being so kind as to provide this build of Infinity Nikki for us, but if you've been watching the footage thus far, it's possible that you might have felt something that looks or feels a bit familiar as I've been talking about this game. So here's a clip of Infinity Nikki. Specifically note the UI here. The map in the corner, the objectives list on the left, the icons, and then look at how Genshin Impact does it. Fairly similar? It's just a coincidence, right? But then look at this wheel, both of them, and just the way that you select your options. The way that we're talking to the receptionist to the guild, and how the text bubbles and your options to respond are in the same locations and essentially in the same style. There's getting rewards, the little icons even. There's this animation of being granted items, which, I mean, Genshin you have to fight for, but I still can't get the similarities out of my head. The quests that are lined up here, the tutorials menu with the window on the side. There is a section called Mirror Journey, right? It's this game's version of a battle pass, and I was like, wait, wait a minute. I wasn't sure what was happening at first when I saw this animation, but then it clicked. The silhouette of a character that's not actually your character but going on an adjacent journey, the art style even, a similar sequence happens when you start up a new season in Genshin as well. You can just watch them side by side right here, and immediately after the very end, you're shown the Battle Pass. I'm not saying that Genshin invented this format of Battle Pass or anything, but it leads right into the same thing. There's your free rewards, and then there's your paid Battle Pass rewards, along with some unique items that you can get only by paying. You complete missions like logging in and doing your dailies, and gradually work towards the end of the path. I was joking about this when I was playing the demo at PAX, but the game can sometimes feel like Genshin in a dress. And yet, in some ways, that might be exactly what gets people into this. I don't want to knock against this game because there's clearly a lot of love and effort being put into it. And you know what? That's just how the cycle goes with game development, right? Genshin Impact was being compared to death with Breath of the Wild, but now Genshin has attained so much of its own identity that other games are being compared to it. How the turntables and all that. Infinity Nikki is definitely doing its own thing in its own regards after all. I mean, where in Genshin do you get to ride a bike? Sorry, a whimsicle. This might actually not age well, but humor me please. Because as of right now, Nikki is clearly the winner of this race because she was smart enough to get some wheels. All that aside, there is a lot to this game that I think is very much worth checking out. Given the legacy of the game, I wanted to look up a little bit more about the history of Nikki, and so I found some things, and then I kept finding things. I began to really pay attention to this game, this series, when I started to look up more of the lore of Nikki. At its core, everything you see is the main vibe of the game. It's a cozy, colorful dress-up adventure with cute clothes and cute fashion. Then I started to dig into little bits and pieces here and there. Is it not just to collect clothes and try to be the best stylist in Maryland? I figured it's like, I don't know, Style Savvy, where everyone is just kind of doing their own thing. Like, what kind of story can you make from clothes? Shining Nikki's overall plots, the game that you're seeing here, this is from an event of that mobile title. It revolves around Nikki, who is within the Sea of Consciousness at the end of time, and she must travel back in time almost 700 years so that she can prevent the apocalypse. An apocalypse which is what I believe we're seeing glimpses of here in this absurdly beautiful animation. Love Nikki's plot, on the other hand, is that Mirrorland is under a blood curse. Because of this curse, those born in this land are prevented from resorting to any acts of violence. Anyone that causes harm or kills another will suffer excruciating, burning pain in their hearts. For this reason, all war and politics are settled through fashion shows. This doesn't mean that people cannot be killed at all, it would just be torturous pain for the murderer. Nikki is a cozy, colorful, dress-up adventure with cute clothes and cute fashion. And in the process of making this video, I did not expect that I was going to have to Google search Love Nikki Blood Curse. See, I thought it was kind of funny that you had to fight the ebony scissors with your style power. Like, they have all the means to assert themselves and take what they want by force, and they kind of do. But now, knowing that this whole blood curse is likely an aspect of this world, giving context as to why these bullies back off right away, it's not just your average silly anime logic that they run away. This is advanced anime logic. There is a reason as to why this world is so devoid of violence or, genuinely evil people with bad intentions. Because if they act out of line, they're going to potentially cause more harm to themselves than the harm they themselves cause. If that same logic applies to this game, then the whole world is at a relative peace for a contextual reason. That's kind of really cool, and I respect that. And people live for this stuff, whether it's the cute clothes and making the most optimally stylish outfit out there, to getting hooked on the lore about the antagonist Needhog, this guy here from the first part of Love Nikki, who thinks that warless peace without freedom is fake. He wants to end the blood curse. He will endure the pain regardless, and has killed someone in front of Nikki who she had to watch bleed out and die. This happened in this series where I'm scrubbing a puppy who looks like a bread loaf so I can use his butt fur to make a dress. This man is in pursuit to open the gates to violence and bloodshed without consequences to the initiators. It's a world that we do see in Shining Nikki because of how far back in the past Nikki goes. This is before the era of the blood curse, in which styling power can and is used on a young girl to entice her to stab a man. What? One more fun fact, this is also a series in which a woman is burned alive and makes a pact with a demon to be reincarnated. I'm sorry if I somehow spoiled the plot of a couple of mobile games from 6 or 7 years ago, but it's these plot points that genuinely got people invested in Nikki in the first place. You ever see war and politics in a dress-up game? I haven't. Of course, that is not the main focus. It is always going to, first and foremost, be about the fashion, the good cozy feels, and the pursuit of being an excellent stylist. But it does exist in the undertones, making the Nikki series deceptively dark. And you know, this isn't a small series. Infinity Nikki is something that people have been wanting for so long, and in some cases, more than they ever asked for. The number of people who pre-registered this game before launch is now sitting at over 32 million people. I can hardly get 32,000 people to click on something. The budget for their animations is insane. They literally made an entire game with that level of quality. And if this opening scene with Enna is any indication, the darker undertones, the fact that this unknown entity who may or may not be the villain who forces the Infinity Heart into Nikki, mind you, if this is just a taste of something crazy and twisted that is brewing for later in the game, I might have to at least keep up with the story. I am somewhat a fan of the genre known as horrific things happen to cute anime girls. This might be one of those, which is bittersweet because Nikki is such a pure-hearted little bean. But look at how vibrant and pretty this game is. There's nothing more under this cheerful, jazzy fairytale vibe, right? Right. Thank you for coming on this whimsical journey with me as I delved into a lot more than I bargained for with this series. I sort of wanted this to be a review at the start, but there is just so much to dive into and discover that I just haven't seen yet. And this is also the kind of format of game that's going to continue to receive updates and expansion for years to come, just like previous games in the series. And I hope it does well. At least that's just what this guy who knows almost nothing of fashion wants to believe. But tell me, will you be trying Infinity Nikki out? Have you already been a longtime fan, or did this somehow convince you to give the series a shot? Let me know down below, and stay tuned to Good Vibes Gaming for potentially more cute videos to come. While you do that, I'm gonna lie down and think about how Nikki has in fact canonically pointed a gun at someone before. Just gonna go now. Till we meet again!